Hello there, welcome to my channel. My name is Doug and I'm back with another fountain pen review. And thank you in advance for liking and subscribing to my channel. Your support allows me to continue to do these reviews, so thanks. So I finally caved and got a Lamy 2000. People have been bugging me for almost 2 years to get a Lamy 2000. Try it. You like it, they said.
Try this, you'll like it. What's this? Try it, you'll like it. But what is try it, you'll like it? So I tried it. Thought I was gonna die.
I have to be honest and tell you that I've been resisting because I didn't really want to spend that much coin for a pen that just doesn't do, well, anything. I know it's supposed to be cool and modern looking in a 1960s bronze shaver kind of way, but seriously, this is one dull looking fountain pen.
It's dull, dull, dull. My God, it's dull. It's so deadly dull and tedious and stuffy and boring and desperately dull. I can't stand it any longer. I want to live.
Okay, we can argue Bauhaus design aesthetics and German minimalism.
Sie ist ein Model und sie sieht gut aus.
But what about the pen itself? I'm told it's the smoothest, most amazing nib ever. That's cool, but again, you can't see it. All that gold is hidden. Whatever. I was still not moved to spend $200 on a black stick. That was until I watched Doodlebud's 2-part video on the best engineered pen in the world. I was fascinated by his detailed examination of the Lamy 2000 and marveled at the genius that went into the design and engineering of this pen. So I had to have one, and I ordered it quickly. I'll link Doodlebud's 2 videos on this pen in the description below, and you should watch, as it's truly fascinating. In the meantime, I've been writing with my Lamy 2000 oblique medium fountain pen for a while now. Has the writing experience overcome my less than generous opinion about the pen's appearance? Well, let's find out right now. And it's another package from Cult Pens in the UK day. And I'm a little bit confused because this package arrived today from Cult Pens, and it arrived by DHL, and it arrived to my door, and I didn't have an extortion fee. So the last time I was required to pay $20 plus extortion fee to get my pen out of hock with DHL, and this time nothing. So I'm confused, but pleasantly surprised. So let's open this up. And I got this package on the 15% off day that Cult Pens had, and so I thought, well, I might as well pick up a few other things. And you all know how much I like Clairefontaine. So I got a couple of my essential notebooks. These are the ones that I use, pardon the glare, these are the ones that I use in my journal. My wife got me this journal online for my birthday, and it has a nice snap closure. It's all leather, and it takes a standard A5. It came with a book, but it takes a standard A5, and that's what I use for my journaling. And I got a bottle of ink. And this is a Queasy ink, and it's my favorite Queasy ink, Azure number 5. I've got about a third of a bottle left of the bottle I got last year, so it shows you how much I'm using it. And the reason for the package, and there it is. I've been coerced, cajoled, convinced, lobbied to get a Lamy 2000 for a couple of years now. And now I finally bit the bullet and did it. And we have a Lamy box, foil stamped with Lamy, and a Lamy brochure. I'm sure there's probably warranty, guarantee information in here somewhere. 2 years. And let's look at the pen. Here we are. It's guarded by some foam. It's in a condom. Let's see if there's anything under here. Nope. That's where that should be. Well, closed all by itself. That's spooky. Spooky.
And it's very, very spooky.
Is it going to close again? It's like a Venus flytrap. Look at that. Oh.
Thank you, thanks.
What is that?
Just your imagination.
Okay, the box wants to be closed. Close the box.
Okay, it's all right. All right.
So, here's the Lamy 2000. It has a little tag on it here. Take that off. And it's pretty much what I expected. And the 14 karat gold hooded nib. Stainless steel section. People talk about this being too slippery. It's not slippery. I don't know what slippery is. You should try a Moon Man if you want slippery. Well, it's a lot lighter than I expected as well. You'll probably see this in about a month. And what I'd like to do today is go over the parts and features of this pen, show some size comparisons, some measurements, and then provide a writing sample. After the writing sample, please stay tuned as I will talk about what I like and what I don't like so much about this fountain pen. And you'll have to forgive the background noise today. That's my desk fan, and it's staying on. Calgary broke a high temperature record of 36 degrees Celsius yesterday, and it's doing it again today. It's 36 again today, which is 93.6 Fahrenheit for you Yanks. That record was set in 1887. So I know 93.6 might sound cool to some of you suffering plus 100 degree Fahrenheit temps in the States. But a couple of summers ago, Calgary didn't even record a temperature over 30 degrees Celsius, which is 86 degrees Fahrenheit, all summer long. So most people here don't have air conditioning. So you're just going to have to chill about the background noise. See what I did there?
Shut up, he thinks he's witty.
Okay, let's get at it. Some do find the design of this pen attractive. Attractive is not a word I would use. Another A word I would use would be austere. Some might call this pen beautiful. A B word I would use would be boring.
Boring.
We could go through the alphabet this way all the way to Z. Yes, I said Z. With this pen embodying the zeitgeist of post-war nihilistic minimalism, and me just saying,
That's not him.
But when it comes to how design and function merge, the Lamy 2000 is a masterpiece of the marriage of form and function. In fact, it is the beauty of the merging of the design and function in this pen that actually won me over. Let's look at one of the most examined designs in fountain pen history here. The pen, as everyone who is anyone in the fountain pen world already knows, was designed by Gerd Alfred Müller, the man who designed the bronze shaver in 1966. The pen's design has remained in production since its debut and is Lamy's flagship model. First, about the pen's material. The pen is made out of brushed fiberglass with a couple of parts that are brushed stainless steel. This is why the pen feels much lighter than it looks. From the top, we see a flat macrolon finial that is polished smooth, and then there is a groove right there, which separates the finial from the rest of the cap. I assume that this groove has something to do with the disassembly of the cap and clip, something I'm not going to do. not even for the Inquiring Minds team. The clip is a story in itself. Doodlebud has claimed that this clip is injection molded metal. Stainless steel, I assume, as it is magnetic. But the underside of this clip, I can show it here or not. Here we go. The underside of this clip has Germany 1 and what looks like an injection molding gate molded into it. There's also an imprint of Lamy, right there on the side. That's injection molded. That's amazing technology. The clip has the same brushed texture of the macrolon and the stainless steel section. The clip is spring-loaded and pivots very nicely, even from the top, which is a nice little feature, which means you can clip it to your shirt, belt, pocket, or journal with just one hand. Very nicely done. The cap tapers up to a beveled edge, a small step down to the barrel, which tapers up slightly to about the middle here, and then it tapers away again to the end finial, which is flat and has a silver dot. This silver dot must be painted macrolon because it's not magnetic. The blind cap of the piston filling mechanism is very blind indeed and only visible when you turn it. Even under high magnification, it is very difficult to see. Incredible tolerances. The cap snaps off to reveal a long tapering section that is half macrolon and half brushed stainless steel, and the semi-hooded 14-karat gold nib, which has a silver-colored platinum finish. And this one is an oblique medium. There's a lot going on with this tapered section. First are the nicely concealed ink windows, which you can see if you hold it up to the light. There are 4 of them there. Easier to see in backlight. You'd be forgiven if this looks to you like some kind of alien or futuristic spacecraft. Then there are a couple of little stainless steel nubs that protrude from the section very slightly. They are very smooth and very unobtrusive, even if your fingers rest on them. This is part of the snap capping mechanism, which is another marvel of engineering in itself. I'll show more in my disassembly video coming up. Then we have the brushed stainless steel portion of the section, which is much slicker than the macrolon and is cooler to the touch. The back half has the filler hole, and if Doodlebud is to be believed, and I do believe him, this part here is also injection molded metal, and that little hole might be part of the design, or it might have been drilled in later, I'm not sure. But the nib protrudes through that, and there's that nice angle right there that allows the nib to touch the page before the feed does. And finally the nib, or what you can see of it anyway. Most of it is inside that nose cone. This section does unscrew to disassemble the nib and feed, and to get to the top of the piston. Inside of the cap shows some more very interesting engineering. There's a cap liner in there, but take a look at the 4 thin blades of what I assume is copper. Those blades are spring-loaded and guide the stainless steel part of the section into the cap seal, which gives the cap its characteristic drag feel as you engage the cap. I assume those pieces are copper because copper is softer than stainless steel, so it's not going to make a mark. Just below that we see there's a groove in the stainless steel liner, inner liner there. That groove is where the little steel ears from the body of the pen engage for that final click and keep the pen from traveling any further into the cap, as those little ears are spring-loaded to expand into that channel. And of course that groove, I can't get close enough to show you here, but that little groove has a chamfer angle on it that allows the pen to be retracted again from the cap. Otherwise it'd be locked in there forever if those little nubbins weren't allowed to get out of that groove again. It's pretty amazing stuff. The cap posts deeply and very, very securely and doesn't backweight the pen at all. In fact, the balance of this pen is perfect, just perfect. The stainless steel part of the section makes the pen slightly heavier towards the nib and the paper, which is what you want. And I'm sure they balanced out the weight of that, the amount of that stainless steel on there to make that balance so perfect. And unposted, the pen is very comfortable as well. The arc of the torpedo shape of this pen is nicely designed to both allow for the deep posting and for it to fill your hand and give you a long grip section. So you can grip this pen anywhere along here, and it's very, very comfortable. This pen should be able to accommodate almost every size hand and grip very, very comfortably. I bought this pen from Cult Pens and paid around $170 Canadian for it because I bought it during one of their discount days sale. A really great deal. I disassembled this pen and put it back together again before filling it for the first time, and I'm going to show you that video right now before we look at some size comparisons. So I'm going to take the cap off. I'm not going to disassemble the cap. I bet you can do that, but I'm not going to do it. I think this comes off. But there's some really magnificent engineering involved in that. But the cap comes off and the section comes off. There's this little ring with the two little ears on it, and that comes off there like that, and you can push the nib through just like that. And then there's our nib. This one is an oblique medium. 585 is the gold content. There's that oblique medium nib. Like many other Lamys, it's very easy to slip that nib off there. And then you have the feed, or the collector. It's sort of like a feed and collector. And there's a little bit of a slot, a little ledge right there that you can push on with your disgusting guitar fingernails. And that allows you to pull that part of the feed out. Oh, of course, I should have taken off the ring first. And there's this little silicone gasket ring that sits on the back of the feed as well, like that. And it compresses to fill that space when you screw the nose cone down. And here we have the barrel with the piston. But let's open the piston up, but you just keep turning. It makes a ratcheting sound. And that comes out. And there's a little piece here that comes out. Little plastic piece that only goes in one way. All these things are keyed, which is really cool. I just take a syringe, a blunt end syringe, and push the piston out the other end, and there it is. And there's our barrel. See, it's keyed as well in there, and this little collar with the stop on it. And there are all our pieces. Now let's put it back together again. Little sleeve only goes on one way, and we can put that back into the barrel. And we put this back into the piston knob. It only goes in one way. And then we just screw it back into the barrel. And we'll put our feed back together again. This only goes in one way. Just like that. See how that lines up the tolerances. And then we slip the nib back on. Just like that, very easy. And then this goes into the nose cone only one way as well. And this ring goes on only one way. If you flip it over or backwards or upside down or turn it around, it won't go in. Forgot to put the ring back on. And again, because this only has one starting place on the thread, the precise number of turns to close that right down. Fait accompli. Now let's look at some size comparisons. And here is the Lamy 2000 with a Lamy Studio Palladium, a Wingsong 601 Flighter, stainless steel, a Moonman TI 200 titanium, and a Keiko Edge. Now let's look at them posted. And here they are posted. They all post very well and are very sleek pens. The Keiko Edge here is definitely a Lamy 2000 wannabe, but it fails in every single way. I did a review of this pen a long time ago, but I'll link it in the description. Suffice it to say, I found this pen to be, should I say it, awful.
You're awful.
Not only was the nib scratchy, the pen cracked within days of receiving it. I see Keiko have reissued this pen, but I'm still hearing of pen barrels cracking. Let's see if I can get a good view of that crack. There it is. Forums have even come up with a name for this brushed injection molded plastic material of the pen, calling it Crack-A-Lon. I like it. Release the Crack-A-Lon.
Release the Kraken!
Now let's look at some measurements, and I'll be back with a writing sample. And we're back with the writing portion of the review. This is Clairefontaine 90 GSM paper, as always, and this is the Lamy 2000. And this has an oblique, medium, 14 karat gold nib. Let's check the wetness. It's actually fairly wet, but this ink dries very, very quickly. The ink is Noodler's. Noodler's Upon the Plains of Abraham. And it is a deep blue-black. I was in a quandary for a while about which ink I should use with my Lamy 2000. Then my pen friend from Edmonton, Sean, sent me an unexpected package of ink samples for me to enjoy. His wonderful note mentioned he used the Noodler's Upon the Plains of Abraham, which is a blue-purple. He said he used it in his Lamy 2000 and it turned it into a felt marker-like line. It's a wet ink. The cool thing about this is that Sean didn't know I had just bought a Lamy 2000, but it was a perfect recommendation, not just because I was looking for an ink, but because it's July 1st, Canada Day, as I write/film this, and so the name of this ink is very appropriate, as the Battle of the Plains of Abraham was a significant moment in Canadian history. I was going to do a whole Canada Day celebration for this video, and then do a brief history lesson on the Battle of the Plains of Abraham. But with the recent discovery of thousands of unmarked graves of Indigenous children murdered by the Catholic Church and the Canadian government, today is more like a day of national shame. So I'll leave it to you to Google the Battle of the Plains of Abraham between Generals Montcalm and Wolfe in the plains above Quebec City in September of 1759. It is nice to see an American company actually recognize the history of Canada as well as that of the United States. Here's a photo of a swatch for the Noodler's Upon the Plains of Abraham. It is a blue-black that has no sheening and no shading at all, and it dries very quickly. It is a very wet ink. With this extremely smooth, oblique medium nib, I'm getting a fat, marker-like line, as Sean mentioned. So look at that line. Remember, this is an oblique medium. As to line variation, well, the nib doesn't flex very much, being semi-hooded, and it's already fairly broad. but the nib is extremely smooth. I don't think I've ever felt a nib that actually glides across the paper so that you can't even feel it on the paper. This is just no feedback whatsoever. It actually feels like velvet. And the line it makes is huge for an oblique medium. It measures out at 0.9 millimeters, which is a Western broad to double broad, and a Japanese off the charts actually, but obviously a double or a triple broad. So this is very unusual, as here is my Lamy Studio. It is also an oblique medium. So this is the Lamy Studio. It is an 18 karat gold oblique medium nib, and as you can see, those lines are not anywhere the same thickness as the Lamy 2000 oblique medium. So that's very strange. I'm very confused about that. Same company. And for our quote, and for some reverse writing. Reverse writing actually isn't too bad and gives you a little bit of line variation out of it, but it's very dry, but not too scratchy. And some quick writing. Yeah, that feed has no problems keeping up. So what do I like and what do I not like about this fountain pen? First, I want to thank Doodlebud for his 2-part video on the best engineered pen for pushing me to get this pen, and Sean Marshall for the ink samples. Thank you both. I'm impressed with this pen for all the reasons that Doodlebud discussed in his videos, and for the history and legacy of this classic fountain pen. To those of you who said that this was the smoothest fountain pen nib ever, I believe you. It's like writing on air. The ergonomics of the pen are marvelous. It's light and comfortable, and you can write with it for hours and hours. Would I have bought this pen if I wasn't going to review it? Probably not. Will I keep using this pen now that I own it? Probably not. If I were still going back and forth to work, meetings, definitely this would go with me. It seems like a workhorse, and I wouldn't mind if it got scratched. It holds a lot of ink, it's easy to take apart and clean, so it definitely would be with me back and forth. But for a knockabout pen now, for taking notes, grocery lists, measurements, or clipping the pen to my shirt or pants when I'm out, I use my Wing Sung 601 Flighter with the bobby bent nib, as it carries a lot of ink and writes a line that's just way more interesting. The Lamy 2000 really isn't appealing visually to me, so it won't be sitting on my desk for me to admire. I think I admire it more when it's actually in pieces. Morbid, I know. I have no issues with the price either. Even at full price, you're getting an amazing fountain pen, and I can easily see why it's so beloved in the pen community. I don't understand why the Lamy 2000 oblique medium nib is so much broader than my Lamy Studio oblique nib. But the two nibs have some of the same characteristics. Both pens tend to skip on the upper parts of downstrokes. Sometimes I'll lose entire letters in the middle of writing, but I've discovered that that is the very narrow sweet spot on both nibs. I've heard about the Lamy 2000 sweet spot, and the oblique medium just makes that sweet spot smaller. The nib can't handle the arc of my writing across the line. So as I move my wrist and the angle changes, it just can't accommodate that. It's even worse when I get to the corners of my journal where the pages are rounded. I know that you're supposed to move your wrist with your writing, but sometimes that's just not possible. So this pen tends to be a little bit frustrating. I thought for a millisecond about getting a medium nib replacement for this one, but since that is more than I paid for this entire pen, there's no way. And that sweet spot issue would still be there. But perhaps I'll try another ink, something with a lot of shading in it maybe, because this ink just makes this flat line flat and uninteresting. And very much, as Sean said, or like writing with a marker or a felt pen. So this is a very broad line made by a nib where you can't even feel the paper. It really starts feeling like you're writing with a very expensive Papermate Flair. So long story short, I'm overwhelmed by the technology and design and underwhelmed by the writing experience. And there you have it. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell to get instant notifications whenever a new video is posted. And that just leaves it for me to say, thank you for watching. And that's all she wrote.
I made this.